Ukraine's 59th Assault Brigade has directly reached out to the channel and to us to provide us with some exclusive, never-before-seen video of just what it's like to take on the battlefield's most fearsome weapon, the unjammable fiber optic drone. Just how do the Ukrainians work to counter this threat, and how is it changing the very nature of the battlefield itself? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. Let's talk about it. Okay, so I wanted to give you guys a little context of who the 59th is. They're one of the Ukrainian Armed Forces' most storied units. They've been fighting since 2014, basically continually, and have served in pretty much every major battle of the war. From Dnieper to Mykolaiv to Melitopol, Pokrovsk to Bakhmut, they fought essentially every major engagement of the war. They also encompass the Chosen Company, who you might know from their viral videos. This is one of the English-speaking volunteer companies that are attached to the 59th Brigade. So they are most recently fighting in the Pokrovsk direction, and we are going to take a look at just what exactly, they need from us. So let's see if we can get this.
Бажаємо міцного козацького здоров'я. Ми, бійці 2-го батальйону безпілотних систем Air Hunters 59-ї окремої штурмової бригади Сил безпілотних систем Збройних сил України. Ми працюємо на складному Покровському.
They mentioned that they are working in the Pokrovsk direction, and they describe the situation as complex. And boy, that's an understatement, because here is Pokrovsk. Now, you might recall, literally, when I was in Ukraine in November, so that's really 8 months ago, the Russians were within just a few kilometers of Pokrovsk, and it really felt like the Russians were going to seize Pokrovsk. Their goal was to seize it in just a few days. As you can see, since then, they've encompassed just about everywhere around Pokrovsk, but remain unable to actually take the town itself. And this limited progress the Russians have made has come at a pretty insane cost. But it still is clearly the Russian objective to seize the town. And as you can see, it's critical because it sits along some major roadways here that allow the transit of supplies to units fighting along the front. And you can see kind of outside of Pokrovsk, there's not a lot of these major paved highways. It's going to be much harder to provide the logistics to units on the front. So that's sort of why Pokrovsk is seen as such a critical zone for the units. And once again, this... Okay, there we go.
Ми працюємо на складному Покровському напрямку, захищаючи суверенітет нашої держави, її територіальну цілісність та наших людей від збройної агресії Російської Федерації. Завжди так було і так буде. Наш основний пріоритет – це збереження життя наших побратимів. На жаль, оптоволоконні дрони, які масово почав застосовувати наш противник на...
that the Russians have begun to deploy to the front lines. And you can see here, this looks like an example of one of their vehicles that was, I don't even think it was hit by a fiber optic drone. I think it appears to be in a ditch, likely a result of probably trying to avoid getting directly hit by a fiber optic drone.
Передові дуже ускладнили нам виконання наших бойових завдань, а саме логістику до передових позицій. Ці оптоволоконні...
Now you can see in that earlier vehicle, it is a logistics vehicle. You can see literally there is a whole, the whole pickup bed is full of supplies. The whole roof is full of supplies, right? This is a truck tire literally that doesn't go on this truck. It's clearly a truck tire for an MRAP or some other kind of larger combat vehicle. So this is primarily a logistics mover.
До передових позицій. Ці оптоволоконні дрони знищують нашу техніку на підході до передових позицій.
So you can see here another example of a logistics vehicle, and you can see again the rear carriage here was taken out, and essentially it's clear that there was a bunch of water in here, and that the fiber optic drone hit, crippled the car, and now another vehicle had to come out and likely take out all of those supplies and continue on.
Майже масово. Оскільки пікапи часто знищуються, бійці вимушені долати відстань понад 10 кілометрів пішки, несучи на собі все обладнання.
Never mind, I stand corrected. Like you just heard from them, when these pickup trucks get destroyed, the only way to get into position is to walk. That's the only alternative. And a 10-kilometer walk, again, through essentially fiber optic drone alley is unbelievably dangerous.
При цьому знаходитися постійно в зоні ризику бути ураженим цими дронами. Такі засоби, як квадроцикли, допомагають нам на зараз зменшити цей час знаходитися в зоні ураження цими дронами. На відмінність від пікапів, квадроцикли можуть проїхати по тій
And so
місцевості.
you can see the appeal, the reason they are so enthused about these quad bikes is because they're just a better alternative to the pickups. You can see that they can weave through denser foliage and forest. They are literally a physically smaller target, more difficult for the drones to hit. They can, again, operate in areas that aren't conventional roads. And if you can maneuver through, say, a wooded area, well, an overhead reconnaissance drone isn't going to see you, and they won't be able to send that fiber optic drone to smash into you. The other appeal is, of course, you saw look at the profile of this quad bike overhead. You can see that it is obviously pretty starkly contrasted because this looks like it's shot in the winter. But you can see even here, this is still more camouflage, more difficult to see. Particularly imagine if it was passing through, say, a wooded area like this. Again, compare that to how, if you're a reconnaissance drone, look at how this pickup truck just absolutely stands out. And you know, because the pickup truck is traveling along a roadway. So if you're a reconnaissance drone, you don't have to look at the entire battle space. You simply find a road and you simply watch that because you know it's the only place these pickups can go. It's probably one of the reasons they have these high casualty rates. But you can see here that if you're a reconnaissance drone, right, you're going to have a harder time tracing where this comes from.
І місцевості, де це дуже складно робити звичайним цивільним машинам. На зараз маємо...
And you can see, again, the Ukrainians have their own kind of all-terrain trailers here that seem pretty effective, right? They've got actually this 3 independent suspensions that can roll right over these wooded areas. It's one of the reasons why they say we are in urgent need of these quad bikes.
Дуже гостру потребу в квадроциклу.
By the way, YouTube, don't demonetize me. This is all from an exercise.
Долучайтеся і підтримуйте цей важливий для збройних.
And so you guys know that one of the reasons they're reaching out is because we have been engaging in a massive fundraiser to try to stop these fiber optic drones and to give the Ukrainian units the defenses they need. And we have done a tremendous job so far. We are over halfway there, which is incredible. And we're not just buying them the quad bikes so that they can, again, reduce their exposure, right? Replace these 10-kilometer treks with... Again, I mean, you can imagine walking a 10K, it's going to take you, 2 hours probably. On a quad bike, it's going to take you about 20 minutes. So the difference couldn't be more stark, and you're just spending less time exposed. But we're also going to get them their own long-range fiber optic reconnaissance drones so that they can find where the Russians are deploying these drone from, right? Trace them back to their home base, so to speak. And of course, get them some extra collimators, red dot sights to help them shoot down approaching fiber optic drones. And of course, lots and lots of camo netting. So if you want to help these guys out, the 59th is going to hook you guys up with brigade patches for a donation of $250 or more. You can actually get additional patches if you make larger donations and a whole bunch of cool swag from the UAO team. And I want to just point out some of the commenters here. James, right, saying, I hope this truly helps. Trump may not want to do the right thing, but Americans always will. And, that's one of the things I always say on this channel is that, the support of the United States of America is different, right? North Korea, when you have the support of Kim Jong-un and that's it. But when you have the support of America or another democratic country, you have the support of its people too, right? And the stuff like this is why we step up. Anon dropping $250 who says, I'm sleeping in my vehicle, jobless, and tens of thousands of dollars in debt. FYI, guys, I don't want this type of person. If you have $250 and say, listen, I'm just gonna forego Chipotle for a couple of weeks, or I'm not gonna DoorDash this dinner for a couple of nights. Yeah, please. But no, dude, take care of yourself first. I don't want anybody to feel like they have to donate to the detriment of their well-being. You can see Holger, hang in there. Best wishes from Germany. Essa, David Kopek, 59th will prevail, and the wonderful people of Ukraine will be free. God bless these guys for stepping it up. The link is, as always, in the description, so we appreciate you. But let's take a look at the end of the video.
зберігання життів наших побратимів і ефективності виконання бойових завдань Збір фундацій Ukrainian Aid Operations.
And this is the takeaway, guys. The ability, again, to get through, to zip through these dangerous areas, to maneuver through areas where there's cover and foliage when you'd otherwise be exposed. It's the difference between life and death. Like this fundraiser, soldiers will come home that otherwise would not have as a result of this fundraiser. And remember, this is just the first of several videos they're going to drop trying to explain to us why this need is so great for these items.
Разом з Combat Veteran Pool. Долучайтеся до підтримки нашого підрозділу. Щиро дякуємо заздалегідь. Віримо в перемогу. Все буде Україна.
Yeah, so check out, all right, we're dropping a link in the description. And, I want to point out that these drones are actually so devastating that the DoD is actually rapidly fielding their own FPV drones. And this, I think, is, well, in some ways, the Army's doing exactly what it always does, which is overpaying something. So you can see the U.S. Army's, no, stop doing this to me. But you can see this is the story, right? The U.S. Army's competing drone for a $500 FPV cost $170,000, right? And there's some efforts here to, again, try to get drone munitions, but boy, God bless them. They're trying. They're trying. And it's one of the things, though, that's the problem, is that the ideal Army process is to acquire technologies and develop them so that by the time they reach maturity, they're relevant on the battlefield. So the time to actually develop FPV drones by the normal Army timeline would have been 10 years ago. But instead, now the Army turns around and says, oh, we can't help prepare for the fight of the future. We can't win the fight of today. And it's one of the reasons why I'm such a big supporter of the Ukrainians, is because ultimately they are right now the only military that has any of the tools to fight the modern total war that a country like Russia can wage. And you can be sure that China is out here supporting the Russian armed forces, taking notes. And so it's up to us essentially to make sure that the other side has the tools they need. Anyway, guys, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you joining me for this video, and I really appreciate all the support you've given to the 59th Brigade. A huge thank you to, of course, my supporters over on Combat Vet News, guys like Tom Anderson, Dan Cochran, Jalen Gow, Officer Murley, Deborah Oppenheimer, Paul JW, Jeff Davies, Mike 54, Stream Market, and the GMAT Club, as well as all of our Lieutenant tier members. You guys are the ones who make this whole thing possible. Thank you guys, and I will catch you mañana. Cheers.